Welcome to another episode of Mike's Money Picks. Today on the podcast, it is our third and final episode of PGA Championship Week. Today is our best bets episode, which is going to cover a lot of different topics. We're going to talk about a lot of our favorite bets for all different types that are available on the board at most sportsbooks. And then we're going to take a look at office pools, one and done, underdog pick'ems as well, because those can kind of be lumped into the bets category, right? So basically every other game that you might be playing at the PGA Championship that is not daily fantasy, we're going to have covered here on this show. If you're wondering, wait a minute, Mike, you're normally a DFS guy. Well, where's the DFS content? Well, I did mention this is the third episode of PGA Championship Week, so if you have not checked out the first two episodes, go ahead and check those out now. Our first episode, we broke down the course and what types of skill sets and what types of golf should play well here at Valhalla. And then we made a custom model and took a look at some guys who stood out or didn't stand out. And then in the second episode, we did our DFS preview where we looked at the salaries on DraftKings and FanDuel and tried to find ways that people are going to be constructing their lineups and how people should be constructing their lineups. So if you're interested in either of those, make sure you check it out before the tournament tees off on Thursday morning. But this is the finale. This is the best bets episode. If you have been with us all week long and you like what you've been seeing all week, do me a favor. Please hit the like button on this video. Please subscribe to the channel so that way you can be with us for the rest of PGA Tour season, as well as all of our NFL, best ball, college football, college basketball content that's going to be coming your way here later in 2024, in addition to the regularly scheduled golf content. And it's a major championship week, so this is a week where I've gotten more views, more traction than usual. So please help me out. If I've helped you in any way, give me a shout out on Twitter, on any social media. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Like, just any help can get, anything that we can do to increase the exposure to this channel and continue growing the community, I would greatly appreciate. And if I have helped you out in any way, that's all I ask for in return. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything else. Just show me some love and help grow the community. And I really do appreciate that. And we're going to talk about ways here in this episode that you can do that, as well as, just shouting out on social media. So let's go in the introduction there. What's interesting is, we've kind of gotten to see this week, there's been a little bit of a progression as the week goes on, kind of some stuff that, people who are at the tournament are tweeting from Valhalla Golf Club. And people are saying that this tournament's going to play pretty easy. And there's a lot of critics of this golf course also. So I will just go ahead and say this about Valhalla. I think that whatever you want to say about it from an architecture standpoint, I think that it is going to present really well on TV. I think that it is in a great geographical location where Louisville, the city of Louisville, or I guess Louisville as the locals call it, is really going to, throw their arms behind this and support this tournament. And the crowd is going to be electric. And I think that the finishing holes are going to create an electric finish, which you have seen each of the last two PGA championships that have been here. So while this may not be the most architecturally diverse or architecturally sound golf course, like in LACC, like a Pinehurst number 2, like a what am I thinking of here? Winged Foot or Southern Hills. This might not be that, but this should still be a very enjoyable, very fun tournament to watch. Now, in terms of the actual difficulty, if the course does end up playing easier, to me, that really thinks that this tournament is going to end up favoring distance, because you're just going to be able to whale away driver. And even if you're in the rough, it's not going to be that much of a hazard. And it really makes me favor guys like Bryson DeChambeau and like Rory McIlroy. I actually looked it up today. Rory McIlroy has not won a PGA Tour tournament that has been played more difficult than -10 at the end of the week. His winning score has been -10 or better in every single tournament that he has won on the PGA Tour, including majors. That is quite astounding. So if the course is playing a little bit easier, I think that plays into old Rory's hands a little bit. And, news dropped today about Rory getting divorced. And I got to say, I don't think that's going to have any effect on this week, because just for somebody to be going through a divorce, that doesn't just happen overnight. It's not like he got home from Quail Hollow on Sunday, got in a fight with his wife. It's like, yep, that's the divorce. Like, that's not what happened. So this is a process that's been happening for a long time, and I don't anticipate it affecting his play a whole lot from what we've seen recently. And what we've seen recently has been pretty good. So I don't think that that's going to, heighten or lessen my opinion of Rory. The conditions of the course are what's heightening and lessening my opinion. So anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and close the intro for good there. And let's go ahead and take a look at the betting board and see if we can identify our best bets for the PGA Championship 2024. All right, so let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Picking an outright winner in golf is very difficult. And I'm going to go ahead and give everybody the advice. If you're betting money on golf recreationally, or if you're betting money on golf for the first time, don't bet anything that you can't afford to lose. be responsible, and just understand that when you bet golf, assume that all the money that you bet is going to be gone, because more often than not, it is going to be. What you can hope for is, if you're betting in the outright market, to be able to find enough mid to long range winners that you can sustain yourself. Betting golf long term does not come from betting the favorites, especially at major championships, even though who's more than likely to win the golf tournament? It's the favorites. So this year has been a particularly bad betting year for a lot of people who bet golf quite frequently, because if you haven't had one of the long shots like a Grayson Murray or a Nick Dunlap or a Peter Malnati, then it's just every week of long shots that you didn't have, or Scotty Scheffler winning, or in last week, Rory McIlroy winning. And a lot of golf bettors who do this for a living, or do this for more than just recreation, don't bet the favorites like that, because mathematically it's not a sound play. And so really, personally, I have only started betting through a sports book for the last 2 months, because that's when it was made legal in my state. But I've been able to be profitable in it, not just because of, yes, I did hit Akshay Bhatia outright, but I've been very smart with how I allocate my funds in terms of the top 10, top 20 market and other prop bets, as opposed to just trying to pick an outright winner every week. Because whether anybody likes to admit it or not, picking an outright winner is very difficult in golf. Now, when it comes to picking the outright winner, y'all, I think that there is a chance that Scotty Scheffler just boat races the entire tournament. I think that that's a chance, right? Like, obviously, I know he's the new dad. I know he hasn't played in 3 weeks, but there's a chance that none of that matters, and he's still just the best golfer in the world, and that's that, right? So I think that this is a great week to explore each way betting, where you get points for placements for your golfer. Bet365 is one of the best sports books in the United States that offers each way betting. I also think that's an interesting week to explore the winner without Scotty Scheffler market. There's a lot of guys where you look at their odds in the winner without Scotty Scheffler market, and it's not substantially less than what it would be in the entire market. And so to me, that makes for not a bad mathematical play, because again, what if Scotty just boat races the entire tournament? I'd rather have a bet that is at 32-1 and cashes if a guy comes runner up, than have a guy at 40-1 and he ends up nothing happens because Scotty Scheffler just wins and wins by a lot. So I do think that Scheffler at 400, like, if you're a recreational bettor and you want to have a bet to look out for, a bet to sweat on Sunday, Scotty Scheffler plus 400, not a bad option. Rory McIlroy plus 750, not a bad option. Brooks Koepka plus 1600, not a bad option. I think those three guys are the three favorites to win this golf tournament, in my opinion. Now, in terms of guys that I'm actually going to bet outright, the first one is going to be Bryson DeChambeau. So Bryson DeChambeau, he's sitting at 28-1 on FanDuel Sportsbook. He is a deceptively good major player, and I don't really think he gets a whole lot of credit for it. And another thing that's interesting is he comes out fast in majors. So, like, you can look to, like, just the last 3 majors that have been played on U.S. soil, that is. The PGA in 2023 at Oak Hill T4, the U.S. Open at LACC T20, the Masters T6. He's been great off the tee. He's one of the best players in the world off the tee, but his approach play has been really good in majors as well. His around the green play has left a little bit to be desired, but to me, this is a course that's going to be a little bit easier around the green than most, because more often than not, you're going to be dealing with thick rough around the greens, not these, short grass areas like you see at the Masters or at a course like Riviera. And you look at his career, I've used Muirfield Village as one of my comp courses. He's been great on and around the greens at Muirfield Village, which is, of course, very similar to this one. And Bryson DeChambeau, sitting at 28-1 odds, like, you're telling me that there's only like a 3 to 4% chance that Bryson wins this tournament? Because that's what 2800 is telling you. So I really do think that Bryson is a really solid bet this week. Another guy that I like this week is Justin Thomas. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Justin Thomas. He's won 2 PGA championships, right? And the form coming in right now is good, but not terrible. Because when you look at what he did, is done in his last 2 starts. He's gained strokes in every single category in his last 2 starts after the horrible missed cut at the Masters. But you go back and look at 2017 when he won the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. His form coming into that event was god-awful. He had missed 3 straight cuts before playing in the no-cut WGC Bridgestone Invitational and finishing in 28th place. What he did in that tournament, though, was he gained a lot of strokes on approach, which kind of led the way to him having a really good approach week at Quail Hollow and winning the PGA Championship. Well, his form now is better than his form was then. So for anybody to say that he can't win when he doesn't have, form coming into a major, I just don't think that that's an accurate narrative. And the approach play has been there all calendar year long. And And the around the green play has been there all calendar year long. It's just been the driver and the putting that can come and go with him. And he's a Louisville native, so I would hope that he's able to putt well on these greens. And this is more of a bomber's course where he's just going to be able to swing away off the tee. So I think that everything sets up well for Justin Thomas at 5,500 here this week. Now, the other guys that I'm going to bet in terms of long shots, I have a futures bet on Akshay Bhatia just because I think the guy's really talented. I think that he is going to win a major championship at some point. That futures bet that I have is at 160 to 1. Right now, you can find him at 150 to 1. Not that much of a difference. I don't mind Akshay this week. Keith Mitchell is another one that I like. So this course, if it plays easy, is going to be a course that is going to be a ball striker's course. Everybody is going to be bombing it off the tee, and everybody is going to be what's the word I'm looking for here? Everyone's going to be bombing it off the tee, and everyone is going to be, just hitting their second shots from kind of a similar location, right? And so if they're hitting their second shots from a similar location, hitting it into these greens, then I would think that that's really going to set up a situation where a guy like Keith Mitchell, who is really good off the tee, can get hot with his irons, can get hot with the putter. That is going to be a situation that he could succeed at. And also, Keith Mitchell anecdotally plays really well at courses that Rory McIlroy plays really well at. So I'm going to think that, since Rory won the last major at Valhalla, that's going to play into old Killa Key's hands as well. And I think he is a solid bet also. Now, FanDuel logged me out. So I'm going to reboot 1 second, and then we're going to get back in here. All right, so we're going to pick back up where we left off, and we're going to talk about some placement bets here. One thing that FanDuel and DraftKings are doing this week is that they are including ties in their placement bets, meaning that there's no dead heat reduction rules, which I think is really nice. I would gladly change or trade, a slight odds dip in favor of not having to deal with the dead heat reduction rules, because those can be quite a pain, and you can end up just not getting as much money as you think you're going to be getting. So good on you, FanDuel and DraftKings, for doing that this week and simplifying things. Now, like I said, it's really hard to pick an outright winner. So these markets are where you can be very profitable. One thing that I'm going to recommend, I did this for the Masters, I'm going to do it again here this week, is I think you can parlay a Scotty top 20 with like another guy near the top of the board's top 20 and have it be just a really good situation for you. For instance, Scotty, at FanDuel, he's only sitting at minus 650 to finish in the top 20, but you add in Xander, and all of a sudden together, that's a two-leg parlay of only minus 148. And Xander Schauffele's been top 20 in the last 8 majors, so he's as safe as a bet as any to do that. But like, you could go Scotty and Rory, and then add in somebody like a Bryson, who I mentioned that I like already. That 3-leg parlay is plus money almost 2 to 1. So that's something I'm going to be doing a bit of this week. It's just kind of mixing and matching these guys near the top and kind of building top 20 parlays like that. Now, in terms of a top 10, there are 2 guys that I'm going to be betting top 10 this week, and it's because of their major history, and that is Cameron Young and Will Zalatoris. So Cameron Young on FanDuel, top 10 is plus 360. Will Zalatoris is plus 450. Just simply put, these guys are like Brooks Koepka light in terms of they really up their game in major championships. And it's come on tournaments where they haven't had good form coming in, they have had good form coming in, they haven't played in a while, like whatever, it doesn't matter. These guys, when majors roll around, show up for whatever reason. Cam Young, 5 top 10s in 8 majors played in his professional career. Will Zalatoris, 8 majors played since he became a professional on American soil in his career, and has finished in the top 10 in 7 of the 8 of them. And these guys are both over 3 to 1 to finish in the top 10. I really like those 2 as bets. I don't even think you have to parlay them with anything. I think they're pretty solid bets as they are. And I'm pretty confident that at least one of them is going to hit and return me plus money in that regard. Now, another thing that I'm going to do, I really have one top 20 that I have a lot of conviction on this week that I'm not going to be like betting as a part of a parlay or anything like that. And now I have to scroll down a lot. It is going to be Sepp Straka to finish in the top 20. Plus 200 on FanDuel right now for him to finish inside the top 20. And when you look at what he's been doing lately, that's really kind of the big reason why. So he's not a super long hitter off the tee. I do think this is going to be a bit of a bomber's course, but his recent form coming in, he's been incredible off the tee with the irons and with the putter pretty much every week he's played in 2024. And when your irons have that level of a ceiling, like he legitimately has a ceiling of gaining 6 strokes with his irons, and his putter has that level of ceiling, he legitimately has a ceiling of gaining 6 strokes with his putter, which he did when he won the John Deere Classic. That really bodes well for a guy that has a chance to really perform well at a major championship, which, oh, by the way, he did last year at the PGA, where he gained about 10 strokes on approach for the week. That's just an insane number. Now, another thing that I think is anecdotal, Valhalla features Zoysia grass fairways, right? He doesn't get credit for this win, but back in 2022, Sepp Straka and Will Zalatoris were in a playoff at the TPC Southwind in the FedEx St. Jude, and that is a Zoysia grass fairway course. So he clearly knows how to play on Zoysia grass. He knows how to punt up bet grass. He knows how to play in major championships. Sepp Straka is my guy for a top 20 bet here this week. Now, I do think you can do a little bit of like make miss cut this week. I'm not a big fan of these bets because I think that it's super tempting to build like a big time parlay and then just have one or two guys that miss. But I'm looking at a missed cut parlay that I really like this week. Okay. It is going to be two guys that are both on live that have not exactly played well on live this season and have not played well in recent major championships. I just have to find them on the list. They are Dustin Johnson and Taylor Gooch. You combine that together, you get plus 465 for both of those guys to miss the cut. And again, DJ has missed the cut at the last two major championships. Taylor Gooch did not play in the Masters. Taylor Gooch has been vocal about not even trying to qualify for other major championships. So I don't even know how much golf he's been playing. And I think that I'm letting my, what's the word I'm looking for here? My disdain for Taylor Gooch's recent interviews get in my head here because, he has came off as a bit of a donkey in the interviews when it comes to, kind of he feeling like he's entitled to play in major championships. And so I really think that it's likely that he misses this cut, and you can get those two combined at plus 465 on FanDuel. I really like that bet. I think that's something that I'm going to be making here this week. Now, the top nationalities or the top in region bets are something that I was very profitable with for the Masters. And it's something that I'm going to go back to here again this week. There's just a few that I like, though. There's not a whole lot of them. So for these bets, I very rarely like betting the favorite unless it's just like so obvious that I feel like it warrants it's a better chance than the odds. So for a lot of these, it's whether or not I feel comfortable betting, one of the guys that's further down the board, right? And one of those is Taylor Pendrith to be top Canadian. He's at plus 360 in the top Canadian market on FanDuel. He is a long hitter. He's finished in the top 11 in 3 straight tournaments that he has played. And he's been really good on long golf courses in his career. He's been really good on long golf courses recently. And when you look at how he's done it, it's been a simple formula: driver and putting. And those are two things that should not go away this week, considering that he's back on bent grass, the same surface that he was at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson when he's won. And this is going to be another driver-heavy layout, which he's seen each of the last 2 weeks. So I think that both of those things set up really well for Taylor Pendrith to be the top Canadian. He's really only got to beat 5 guys, and all of them are just kind of meh. And none of them are really elite off the tee players. So I do think that Taylor Pendrith is going to be one of my guys in that market here this week. Another one that I like is Joaquin Niemann as top South American. He only has to beat 3 guys, but I think it's highly likely that all 3 of those guys missed the cut. I don't think that this is the perfect course fit Joaquin Niemann, but I think with how he's playing and how the tournament lays out, I think he's a significantly better player than the other 3 guys. And if he's the only one that makes the cut, well, then he wins the bet right there. And then I also like Dean Burmeister as top African. This is another one where he doesn't have to beat a whole lot of guys, but he's a long hitter, and he's the longest hitter of this group, and he's playing really well on Liv. He won at the longest course that Liv has played this season at the Doral. So Dean Burmeister, top African, just kind of leaning into the bomber narrative there in taking him. Now, another thing that you can bet on that I really like doing is the 3 balls, where you just bet on who is going to win their particular group on each of the first 2 days of the tournament. There's a few that stand out to me as really solid value, and these can be parlayed together. Maybe there's another guy that you like that you can parlay it with, but I really like Sepp Straka to win his 3 ball of Taylor and Kanaya. Kanaya should not be a factor in this tournament. Nick Taylor is not a long hitter off the tee. This is not his type of course. We already mentioned how much I like Sepp Straka. I really like that one. I really like Bryson DeChambeau to win his 3 ball against Tommy Fleetwood and Akshay Bhatia. Fleetwood and Bhatia are guys that I both like, but Bryson DeChambeau in the opening round of majors is something different. So I really think that this is, another opportunity for him to flex that opening round of majors deal that he's got going on. And this should be a pretty wet golf course on Thursday morning when they're getting to play it. And Bryson DeChambeau, like Rory McIlroy, really thrives in soft conditions. Ben An is not a bad one to beat Cole and Bjork as well. I think that Cole and Bjork, they're both really short hitters. They're both not elite players off the tee. I think that shapes up really well for Ben An. And then Adam Scott and Keegan Bradley. I think that one of those two is going to win. I don't think Tiger's going to win that 3-ball, but I have really struggled to figure out which one of those two it is. I do like Joaquin Niemann to beat Tom Kim and Gary Woodland. Gary Woodland was a total non-factor at the Masters back in April. Tom Kim, his game is all over the place. He can go and win one way or another. So I don't mind betting Joaquin Niemann to win that 3-ball also. And so that concludes the best bets section of the show. Now, one more thing. This is a great week. A lot of sportsbooks are doing a lot of promos. So make sure you find your promos. Make sure that if you have not registered for a sportsbook, this is a great week to register for one. So one thing that I do have is I am partnered with a site called Sign Up Expert, and they give you the best offers and promo codes for new users for any sportsbook, player prop, or DFS site. So if you're looking to take advantage of some promos this week, or if you're looking to get some bonus bets or anything like that, head to signupexpert.com/Mike's Picks. You can look at the menu they have there. For every sign up that we get from my landing page, I get a bonus back. So if you want to show me some support that way, you can. But it's also a great week to do stuff like that because all these places are running their best promos for the PGA Championship. All right, so enough about bets. Let's go ahead and talk about how you can win your office pools this week. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how you can win your office pool for a PGA Championship. So office pools, especially when they're ones where you kind of have to pick a certain guy from a certain group, have a little bit of DFS principles in them where there are going to be some guys that are going to be higher owned. There are going to be some guys that are going to, make sense as good plays that a lot of people are going to play. There are going to be some guys that are well-known names that a lot of people are going to play. And so, winning one of these is going to be about understanding where you should get your leverage from. Who are the right chalky guys to play? Who are the wrong chalky guys to play? And basically, if you construct your lineup in a certain way that one or two guys elevating themselves is going to win you a contest, then that is going to be a way that you can build it out. So for me, there's one that I play in every major. I mentioned it here on the podcast before. It's run by a friend of a friend. And basically, we've got groups of golfers. You pick 6 and, lowest score at the end of the week wins. And it generally ends up being a pretty big pool, right? What the guy who runs it started doing, which I think is a very ball knower move by him, is he started using data golf rankings as opposed to the OWGR to separate the groups. So you end up with really some more interesting groups. My one complaint is that he does make all the groups the same size. So group 1, there's only like 5 guys that people are actually going to play, but it's 15 deep. The bottom 10 are just going to be totally underowned. So in group 1, I'm gonna pick it here live on the show. By the way, I should have mentioned that. So in group 1, we've got the big guns, your Scotties, your Rorys, and all that. And I'm going to be picking Rory McIlroy from that group. Reason why, I think a lot of people are going to pick Scotty, which is understandable, but I'm going to be wanting to pick some other guys who are chalky later on in the groups. And so by picking Rory now, I have leverage that if Rory beats Scotty, I can play these guys in the lower groups and still end up being totally okay. So in group number 2. It's a lot of variety of names. I expect in this group Justin Thomas to be the popular pick. I think that Cameron Young and Matt Fitzpatrick could also get a little bit of ownership, as well as Hideki Matsuyama. But the guy I'm going to be going with is Bryson DeChambeau. I think that ownership will actually be pretty flat among all those guys. Cameron Smith is in this group as well. He might take a little bit also. But I've mentioned here multiple times this week how I think this course is a great fit for Bryson. He's one of my guys this week, and so I'm going to be picking him as my guy in group 2. Group 3 has the ever-popular Jordan Spieth, the ever-popular Tony Finau in it. So those guys are for sure going to be popular. Akshay Bhatia and Dean Burmeister are 2 guys that I like who are in this group. I'm going to preliminarily pick Tony Finau, but if I feel like I have to go get a little bit different, then I'm going to switch Finau over to Bhatia and roll with that pick. But I'm definitely avoiding Jordan Spieth because I think a lot of people are going to pick him, and I don't think this course is a great fit for his game. Group 4 in this pool is an easy one. Somehow Brooks Koepka slid all the way down to group 4. Yes, everyone is going to play Brooks Koepka in group 4, but I am totally okay with that. I think this is a great course fit for him. I think that he is by far the most talented player in a group that has the likes of Minwoo Lee, Keegan Bradley, Shane Lowry, Taylor Moore, Kurt Kitayama, Keith Mitchell, Tom Kim. Those are some talented players, but Brooks Koepka is very clearly a class above them when it comes to major championships. So Brooks Koepka, even though he is going to be highly owned, is going to be my guy. Group 5 has what I anticipate to be a very highly owned Will Zalatoris, but that's okay. We've also got Dustin Johnson in this group, as well as Taylor Pendrith, Austin Eckroat, Cam Davis, as some other guys that people might play. If I feel like I'm getting too much chalky, I might switch over Will Zalatoris over to Taylor Pendrith. But what we're looking at now is if I know that I have chalky Koepka and chalky Zalatoris, then that means that and even if Bryson ends up being chalky, then I'm going to need Rory and Finau to come through for me in groups 1 and 3 in order to, kind of end up winning this. And I think that that's absolutely a possibility, and two guys that I'm willing to hang my hat on. Now, Group 6 is kind of like the field, everybody who is not in one of the first 5 groups. So you got a lot of long shots here. And there's a lot of people that guys don't know. What tends to happen in Group 6 is like the known names end up getting picked in things like this, like Tiger Woods, like Phil Mickelson, like Ricky Fowler, who is in this group, Justin Rose, who is in this group. I actually think Rosie's a pretty solid pick. I'm going to end up going with I'm going to pick Luke List. However, I'm very tempted to go with Jordan Smith. The reason why, those two guys are both elite level ball strikers, that if they just happen to have a good week on the greens, they could very easily find themselves in the top 20 or top 10 of this tournament. And we've already mentioned multiple times here on the show how I do think this is going to be a ball strikers tournament. So List and Jordan Smith are going to be the two guys that I'm going to be considering. And I'm probably going to tinker with this a little bit. I don't know if I ended up going with too many chalky guys, but I'm putting myself in a situation where if Rory beats Scheffler, Finau has a good week, Bryson has a good week, and everybody has Koepka and Zalatoris, then I feel like I'm going to be in a pretty good shape, and I'm not going to really be missing out on anybody that I don't really want to miss out on. So that is how you could pick an office pool in the PGA Championship 2024. Let's go ahead and take a quick breather, and then we are going to talk about one and done. All right, so now we are talking one and done, and one and done continues to be one of my favorite forms of fantasy golf. Even though I really have kind of taken some lumps this year, I'm in 3 of them, and I'm not in the money in any of them right now. The one that I've been picking on the show, I did get a winner last week with Rory McIlroy, which got me into the top half of the field, and I'm in a situation where if I kind of can get a few more good finishes in majors and signature events, I might be able to stage a comeback. There is still a lot of season left. What I really like about where I'm standing right now in this particular one and done is I've still got Scotty, I've still got Xander, I've still got Wyndham. I've got a lot of guys that I can play in the signature events down the road, and I think I've got my bases covered to where I can use one of the favorites, one of the big guns all summer long, and hopefully just use that to kind of continually, inch back up near the top. Now, this is a week where I think a lot of people are going to have a similar logic. I think a lot of people in their one and dones are going to do one of two things. They're going to play Scotty or Rory, or they're going to play a live guy. I just think that that's going to be the conventional wisdom in one and done this week because you have two very obvious guys that are favorites to win in Scotty and Rory. And then you have live guys that you can't use at another event down the road except for the majors. So you got 2 other chances to use live guys, the US Open and the Open Championship. And personally, I think that this tournament shapes up a lot better for the live guys than the US Open at Pinehurst, and then certainly a lot better than the Open Championship at Royal Troon. So I am probably going to be using a live guy in every single one and done that I am in this week. And the reason why is because I don't want to give up opportunities to use big guns on the PGA down the road. And I don't want to give up an opportunity to use the big guns on live down the road because, like I said, I don't think that those next 2 tournaments are going to be very good spots for the top live guys. And so by playing them this week, hopefully I can pick a winner or pick somebody who's near the top and use them optimally and continue on about my day, right? So I had the logic for the Masters where I wanted to use a live guy that nobody else was going to use. And so I used Brooks Koepka at the Masters. Well, unfortunately, that didn't work out well for me. He was terrible at the Masters, and 14% of people in this one and done in particular used him at the Masters, which is not a bad number. 22% used Jon Rahm, so he certainly was less chalky than Jon Rahm, but neither of the 2 of them did anything. So the question becomes now is what do you do this week? Well, I think that Koepka and Rahm are going to continue to be the 2 chalky live guys. I think that if you want to get really different. I think that Tyrrell Hatton, I think that Joaquin Niemann would be very good selections in terms of live guys that you could go with. And I think that the guy I'm going to be ending up going with, if I can find him on this scroll here, you guys that have been listening to the show all week probably know exactly where this is going. I'm going to be picking Bryson DeChambeau here this week at Valhalla. I just think that he's a great course fit. I think that he is an elite level driver of the golf ball. I think that he is very good at major championships, and he's going to be the guy that I'm going to go with this week as soon as I can find him on the scroll. Now, one more thing. If you want to get super different this week, We mentioned these two guys earlier in the show, but Will Zalatoris and Cameron Young, they simply put have finished in the top 10 in majors a disproportionate amount of times for their skill level as golfers, as evidenced on the PGA Tour. They have a combined 1 win, but they have a combined 12 top 10s in major championships. That's insane. So I wouldn't mind going and rolling the dice with one of those two guys if you want to get super different, because Cameron Young and Will Zalatoris have clearly shown that they are not exceptional PGA Tour players week in and week out, but they are exceptional when they show up at majors. And so those two guys I would not mind using this week, because I don't think there's going to be a natural spot on the PGA Tour that you really want to use them. But like I said, I'm going to be picking live guys this week. It's probably going to be Bryson, Rahm, and Neiman for a lot of them, because I did burn Koepka at the Masters, but I do think Koepka is by and large the best one and done play this week. And if you're near the top of the leaderboard, Brooks Koepka should be the guy that you could go with. Risk-free, worry-free, play Brooks Koepka, and he might just win the thing, but also he's going to be very chalky, and he's going to keep you near the top of the leaderboard, because a lot of guys are going to play Brooks Koepka here this week. If you want to play a live guy and get super different, then I think the solution would be to go Dean Burmeister. I think Joaquin Neiman will be a decent bit different as well. But Burmeister, super long hitter off the tee, just won on Live at Live Miami. Similar skill set as Bryson DeChambeau, not the name value of Bryson DeChambeau, not as much accomplishments as Bryson DeChambeau. So Dean Burmeister would be a guy that I would consider if you want to use a live guy and you're near the back of the pack and you really want to get super different. All right, so that does it for the one and done breakdown. So let's take a quick breather, and then we're going to talk about Underdog, and then we're going to roll on out of here. All right, so if you are not familiar with Underdog, it is one of my favorite fantasy sites that there is out there. I have a promo code. Link is in the description on the audio feed as well as on the YouTube page. So if you're looking to get signed up on Underdog, use my promo code. You'll get your first deposit matched, which is just an outstanding bonus because it's basically giving you free money. But Underdog, they have these higher lower games. They have the drafts. It's one of my sites that I play all types of games on, like all year long, really, when you include best ball, fantasy football, and all that stuff. So one thing that impressed me with what they've done for the PGA Championship in terms of their higher and lowers on Underdog is the wide variety of the menu that they have. Like, they're just offering a whole lot of stuff that you can get in a whole lot of ways that you can kind of tailor an entry or build in some correlation and just kind of do whatever you need to do to get the right guys and get the right props for round one, and then round two, round three, and round four, right? So one thing that interested me was the whole 18 driving distance that's offered. If you look at them, they're very clearly higher than like the guy's actual average driving distances. But if you look at hole 18, it is a decently wide hole off the tee that is a little bit downhill. I don't know if it's going to be playing downwind or not, but I think if you were savvy enough to check the wind on like Thursday morning and know how damp or dry the course is Thursday morning, you could get a lot of hires or a lot of lowers and string together on that hole 18 driving distance and hope to get it right. Another thing, I don't really like Underdog's round four finishing position that they have. That's going to require your entry to be open all the way through round four, and the odds are just not as good as like if you were just betting a top 5 or top 10 in an actual market. So I would stay away from those. Another thing that's interesting, if you think the course is going to play pretty easy, which I do, then I would just take a lot of guys who are long hitters, good par 5 players, like Scotty Scheffler, like Rory McIlroy, like a Tony Finau, like a Cameron Young, Will Zalatoris, Bryson DeChambeau, and just target the birdies or better. There are 3 very birdieable par 5s on this course. There are 3 par 4s that are going to feature wedges into greens, and there is with those 7, that's opportunities that you can get birdies on those 7 holes, and then 6 holes, and then maybe they steal one somewhere else. It doesn't require them shooting a super low round. It just requires them to make those birdies, and I think that with a lot of the longer hitters in the field, they're going to have some looks at these par 5s. That birdies or better market is going to certainly be an open one. Also, I think Underdog may have gotten a little bit aggressive with their fairways hit. I would be inclined to go with the lower on a lot of these. I think that, the course may be soft, but like these are fairly narrow fairways, and guys are going to be swinging driver, and I don't think guys are going to fear the rough very much this week. And that's a combination where you have narrow fairways and not super thick rough and a lot of driver where guys aren't going to hit a lot of fairways. So I think that the little lower on fairways is certainly something that I am going to be targeting here this week also, or at least targeting in round one and then adjusting my strategy if it does not work in round one. Another thing that I found interesting is that they have some old guys on here like John Daly, like Phil Mickelson, like Tiger Woods, that they just didn't really kind of account for where their game is currently at. Like I really think John Daly over 77 is a pretty solid bet, honestly. I think that Michael Block over 74.5, which was available earlier in the week, is a really solid one. I was able to get that. I don't know if that has gone up since, but I really think that you can pick on guys. See, it's at 75 now for Michael Block. I think that you can pick on guys who are not in good spots, not great course fits, and do the hires. I think that Dustin Johnson higher 70 is a pretty solid bet as well when you look at where his game's at. But really, there's a whole lot of menus options here on Underdog, and I mentioned some of my favorites, but there's certainly other ways that you build yourself out an entry, build yourself out a slip, and just kind of go from there. I really enjoy Underdog. If you're looking to get in on it, use my promo code mconley88. It's from my personal account in the description on the audio as well as on YouTube. And so, y'all, that is going to do it for the Best Bets episode for the 2024 PGA Championship. We covered betting every kind of market. We covered office pools. We covered one and done. We covered Underdog Pick'em. A lot of information here in this show. So if you do want more information from me, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Mike's Money Picks. I'll answer any questions that you have. I'm an open book. I'm looking for interaction. If you ever have anything, need anything, let me know. And I will, try to answer you on Twitter. I'm also in the Fantasy Corner Discord. This is more of a DFS-oriented space, but the Fantasy Corner Discord has a lot of smart people playing DFS from a lot of different sports where you can get a lot of ideas bouncing, a lot of advice, strategy, and then just a lot of guys just sweating it out together talking sports, and it's an absolute blast to be a part of. And so I cannot recommend enough. If you're looking for more people to talk DFS with, the Fantasy Corner Discord is the place for you. Also, if you want to know who makes my final DFS score as well as who ends up cracking the top 10 of my final model, I write an article for every PGA Tour golf tournament, every live golf tournament, every alternate PGA Tour golf tournament every week that I publish to my Patreon, patreon.com/Mike's Money Picks, where I profile my DFS core as well as who ends up being the top 10 in my model and my general thoughts and strategy for the week. Lastly, we mentioned this earlier, but if you're looking to join a new sportsbook, new DFS site, new player prop site this week, head on over to signupexpert.com/Mike's Picks. You'll get the best promo code in addition to whatever promos these sites are in fact running for the PGA Championship. I cannot recommend that enough. Take advantage of the free money that places are willing to give you. All right, so that does it for this episode, guys, and that does it for PGA Championship week. If you have not already, please go check out videos 1 and 2. I promise you will not be disappointed. We've cranked out over 90 minutes of PGA Championship content this week now, which is quite a lot. And so tomorrow is going to be all about making my final bets, building my lineups, and just kind of spreading out all the information onto like the slice of bread that is the PGA Championship. And then Thursday through Sunday, it's going to be eating that sandwich, and hopefully it's going to taste good because hopefully we picked out some winners this week. I realized that was probably a terrible metaphor, but I'm hoping you guys get what I was going for, right? Like tomorrow, Wednesday, is really the day where you make all the official picks, you submit the lineups, you do all the builds, you do everything, you plan it out, and then Thursday through Sunday is the day where you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? So I'm very much looking forward to this week. Go check out episodes 1 and 2 if you have not already. If you've been here with us all week long, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. It really does help me out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. If you're listening on audio, you can rate and review. All right, so that does it for this episode, guys, and that does it for our coverage for PGA Championship Week 2024. Best of luck to all of your DFS lineups, bets, underdog slips, one and dones, office pools. Best of luck to you. Hopefully I was able to help you guys pick some winners this week. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this point, and I will see you guys next week.